And it's a very good evening to Gisela Lacruz from Global International Relocation. Good to see you, Gisela. How are you this evening? Tudo bem?
Tudo bem. Thank you so much for inviting me tonight. I'm very excited to be here and looking forward to, provide a little bit of my knowledge with all the people that are here, interested in moving here, asking some questions, doubts that they may have. I will be here to support them and provide all my knowledge for them.
Very good. Thank you. Transporting your goods to Portugal then is the expert webinar tonight for Expats Portugal
Right.
Thursday evening. And we'll be looking at, well, the whole piece, the whole picture, and taking a little bit of a look into taxes and duties exemption. How does that apply? How does that work? And you'll tell us all about that, Gisela. AIMA, what changes have been implemented and how do they impact moving? That'll be an interesting update from your perspective. Is it possible to relocate without obtaining residency? That's an interesting question and issue. How do taxes and duties work in such cases? That'll be very interesting. And I think this is a big part of your work, vehicles. How they're exempt from taxes and duties, under what circumstances, how can vehicles be transported? After transportation, how is the legalisation process handled? And I know you can help people with that. Can vehicles be driven during the legalisation process? A good question. And your turnkey service of a vehicle purchase and legalisation as well. So quite the emphasis on vehicles, but more general in the first place about moving here and some of the issues that people have and want to discuss this evening. Before we get started with those, tell us about yourself, if you will, and what you do at Global International Relocation.
Thank you, Carl. Yeah, well, actually, what I do in Global International Relocation is I provide all the services to integrated services, let's say, for the moving, for storage, for legalisation, transporting fine arts, pet services as well. So we actually provide a mobility service. That's what it's called. I know that Rita and Luis were before in this webinar, so we explain a little bit more about the moving part, pet transport, and what I do is I can support the people that are willing to move to Portugal in terms of documentation, in terms of process, timings, how long it's going to take, what documents we need to request in advance. So my advice is for the process to run smooth and easy. That's what we want. And I've been in Global for about 8 years now. And I'm very happy to be part of the family of Global. So Global International started in 2008. It started as a moving company. And then, we have in the last years expanded our services over the time to include wide range of complementary offerings. So today we are proud to be, part of it, leaders in the market, and also providing services that helps people moving abroad, and we operate throughout Portugal, in Algarve, in Porto, and Lisbon. Yeah.
And there really is a family atmosphere, isn't there, at your work?
Yeah, it's very nice. It's very fun, actually. Many clients that come to visit us, they're impressed with the environment that we can share there, because it's lovely to have people involved, in the process of helping people to move abroad, and making part of it is very important. It's like feeling like you are, sentimentally attached to them.
Yes.
And yeah, it's like we even have a little pet there in our office. It's Taco. I don't know if you have seen before, but it's.
I think I have. Rita mentioned Taco before, right? And Taco lives on site.
Taco lives there, right?
Really?
Right. He's the chief pet officer.
The CPO.
The CPO, right. We have a lot of officers there, but Taco is one of the, cutest pet that is always there. And it's like a home for him, He comes every day.
Okay, very good. Excellent. All right. So that gives us a sense of the atmosphere at GIR.
Yes.
We've got George is in the chat this evening. Hello all. Are you feeling the effects of the remains of Hurricane Milton? Yeah, let us know how you're doing in the United States there. Hope you're all safe and well. Mark and Jane are here. Hello from Portugal. First time. We've just arrived on our D7 visa. Yay. Well done. I can read backwards, says Tara, so that's good. That's the only test of this skill tonight, I think. This usually happens when you adjust the image so that it reads appropriately for yourself. Not only you can read backwards, I think you're a Zoom expert as well. By doing so, you're making the background backwards for everyone else. Yes, but thank you for your tech support there, Tara. Pedro's in, boa tarde a todos. Very good on the Portuguese there. Pedro, how are you? Tudo bem? And yeah, welcome to Portugal, Mark and Jane. That's fantastic. Debbie here. I'm especially interested in car moving. So Debbie misses the 2011 red Mazda Miata, which sounds great, but unsure if it's worth shipping. So we'll answer that question for you, or at least give you some insight from Gisela here this evening. And I think, have you had a birthday just recently, Debbie? Parabéns a você, I think. It is true to say. Okay, so let's start with the serious topic of taxes and duties. What are people up against, and how do you help people with that, Gisela?
Well, for taxes and duties to be exempt of paying, these extra charges for besides moving here, you need to pay extra taxes and duties. That doesn't make sense if you are deciding to move here and changing your primary residence to Portugal. So this is basically the most important, because if you are planning to move here and to keep your residence in the country where you're coming from, then you won't be eligible to apply for tax-free. So basically what we need to make sure is that you are moving your residence to Portugal, you apply for the visa first, you change your residence to here, and then the next steps will be submitting some documentation like the luggage certificate, okay, for the household goods, or the car import certificate for the car. Right. These are two documents that we need to request at the local, in the States, in the consulate, Portuguese consulate. Could be in Washington, New York, or any consulate close by that, that will provide this certificate for to prove that you are moving used household goods and used car. So this is the first document. Second document, once you have the residence in Portugal, you will be able to change your NIF, which is the fiscal document, with your residence stating that is Portugal, because you can have your NIF, but you can keep your residence from the States. Yes. So that means if you are moving to Portugal and you are changing your primary residence here, you will need to go to Finanzas, to the financial authorities, and request the change of your residence there. And that's when you turn to be a resident in Portugal. Since then, you have 12 months to bring your household goods and your car to Portugal without paying taxes and duties. And very important also is that you need a residence certificate, which is requested at the local parish where you're gonna live, stating that since the date that you arrive in Portugal, you are living in the same address that appears on your NIF document. So the fiscal document and the atestado de residencia, which is the residence of certificate from the local parish, have to have the same address. This is very, very important.
Okay. And if people have any doubts about how to do that, you can assist.
Well, yeah. And what I wanted to share with you is because lately some local parish has asked some extra document or some extra witnesses.
Yes, that's
that happened in the north.
Some local people along, right, to prove that you live in the freguesia.
Right, I had the experience that some people came to Porto, and this local parish not only asked, for the contract, the deed of the rental, or if they bought a house, but besides that, somebody that lived there in the neighborhood, or some witnesses that can prove that he is living there. Yeah, so this is new, and some of them ask, some of them don't ask. But in the north, it already happened. That's why I had that experience, and I wanted to share with the people that it could happen.
Yeah, and sometimes your landlord might not live in the freguesia, so you need somebody in the local freguesia to go with you.
Right, and this is one question that it was like a bit like, how can you help me with that? And I say, Portuguese people are very friendly, and I think they won't have any problem.
It's
If you
true.
go to a coffee place,
Yeah.
you know, and because the Portuguese people like to have a coffee, and you see people that in the morning, in the midday, and they can, you know, if they want to help you, they will do it. And I think they usually do it.
And
So
yes, so good to make friends on arrival. And
yeah,
so when you say to them, can you come to the freguesia? Because of course, sometimes the freguesia is only open on one night of the week, and you have to move things around,
yeah,
and you would schedule
yeah.
people to do that. So that's an important piece of the jigsaw.
Yeah, and I wanted to add something important. Also, the deadline or the time is, you know, about requesting a luggage certificate takes
Yes.
around 3 weeks
Okay.
in the consulate. You submit the document, and in that document, what you need to send to the consulate is basically the inventory of your household goods that you are moving to Portugal. Okay,
Yes.
this can be done by the moving company or can be done by you. No values detail, only the list. This
Okay.
list has to be like volumes of, you know, the things that you're bringing, ornaments or furniture or
Yeah.
clothing, bags, etc.
Yes.
And this takes 3 weeks. Here in Portugal, the rest of the documents takes 1 week, actually, in the local parish and the finances. If you have the chave digital, you know, the password online, you
Yes.
can submit the documents and you get the change of address maybe in 3 days or one day. It depends.
Okay, very good. Excellent.
So
Yeah.
it's fast. Yeah.
Very good. Diana saying all the more reason to get to know your neighbors. Yes, good strategy there, Diana. Okay, so that's, I think really that covers taxes and duties, unless there's anything else you want to add to that part of it, part of the puzzle. Is that right? Everything on taxes and duties there. We're up
And,
to date on that bit. I think we can move on to AIMA then in that case, can't we?
and yeah. Well, what I wanted to share about AIMA was basically what we've been going through and sharing a little bit with the people that are, you know, have submitted the documents and the delays that we have had. The overwhelming backlog that we had in AIMA, it's because in AIMA, you know, inherited around 350,000 pending cases.
Yeah.
That's why we enter into the strike, and we are, you know, struggling with some processes.
Mm-hmm.
But also the good thing, and, you know, giving a bit of relief to the people that are on the line to wait for the, you know, for the process to be, or for the agendamiento, the appointments, is that they are addressing these challenges and, you know, tackle these issues. They are going to open 10 additional offices.
Yes.
And I also heard that 190 more staff members, you know, will be hired, and they're launching an online appointment scheduling portal. So I think that will be, you know, a good thing that will help everybody and, you know, keep us a bit relief from what we are going through.
Good
So
news.
I know AIMA had a lot of delays, and that's why there is also options of talking about avoiding taxes and duties. There is also a way that we can, you know, declare your goods and bring your goods right away. That's the other subject or topic that we are going to talk about bringing your household goods without having a residence. Is possible too.
Okay, tell us more about that then, because I think we'll talk more about AIMA, formerly Seth, in the Dream Team session.
Yeah.
We often get an update about what's going on that front line. But good news, it does seem to me like the energy is changing
Yeah.
with AIMA finally, which is great news.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you don't have to become a resident. You can relocate without becoming
Yeah.
a resident. So how do
Right.
taxes and duties work in such cases?
Right.
What are the other
Right.
considerations with that?
Okay, to consider that in case there are different scenarios. People that want to move here, they don't want to wait and to request all the documentation and the hassle of, you know, requesting the luggage and and they want the things to be right away in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can do that. And the way customs here calculate the taxes and duties is based on the taxes, which is 23%, and the duties, which is between 12 to 16%, or sometimes 6%, depending on what kind of items we are talking about.
Right.
As we know, everything is, you know, used household goods. So what we basically do and present to customs is they're going to ask us for the CIF, cost, insurance, freight. And that means that our broker needs to present to them the value of the goods that the people is willing to bring to Portugal, and this value is not the real value of the goods, but a symbolic amount. And this is a declaration of value of the used goods that is arriving to Portugal. And what we help in terms of, knowing how much will be fair to declare is based on the volume of the household goods. Like if we are talking about half container or full container of 20 foot or a full container of 40 foot, we estimate around a determined value for each container. So we say, if we are bringing half container, maybe you should declare this amount, okay?
Right.
So we have experts to guide you with that, so that it won't, be suspicious that, okay, you're bringing household goods and you're declaring so low. Doesn't make sense. You need to, be according to the volume that you bring, unless you have fine art, obviously, because before bringing the household goods, we need to know what kind of items they're importing.
Yes.
If we have fine art, this is definitely something different, and we need to be careful with that and declare them in advance, okay? But if they are normal household goods, what we do is we declare the value of the goods, we inform about the freight, and based on that, I can give an estimate of the taxes and duties. Let's make an example just for the people to be more aware of how much they will spend in a small container. Let's talk in a small container, 20 foot. If we are talking in a 20 foot, half of it, okay, approximately maybe they will pay in taxes and duties around 2,000 in taxes.
Right.
So if they're bringing less than that, it will be much less. So what I like to share with the people is sharing what they want to bring. We assess the volume and we can give them the option, okay, does it make sense to pay this? Or you want to wait until you have the documentation, but either way, you need to be here in Portugal, but store your goods in the States. That means that you also need to pay storage. So we make like a balance, of what you will pay if you keep your goods there, or if you bring it to Portugal. Is it easier and cheaper? Then we proceed. But what is important is to have everything, tailored up according to the needs of the person.
Very good. Okay, because we haven't talked very often, actually, or if at all, about people who are moving here who aren't becoming residents. But that's what you're up against if you just want to basically stay in Portugal. If you're working as an expat in that sense, you are taxed. And it's if you become a resident, then you can get some tax freedom or relief or exemption.
Right.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that distinction there. That's really helpful. Should we move on to vehicles? Would you like to move on?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I just wondered if that was
if there is
we
any
do have
question.
some questions. I think I'll come back to the questions because some of them are about vehicles. So let's move on to how you help people with vehicles and the kind of the headlines when it comes to moving a vehicle to Portugal, which I think some people, there's a general idea that it's very difficult and problematic. Is that fair?
Well, what I can say is that transporting a vehicle to Portugal will depend. Each case is a case because people are attached, to this. Maybe it's important for them to bring the car. And to be honest, as everybody knows, taxes, in Portugal are very high. So if somebody is planning to bring a car to Portugal, I will actually say, let's first think if you are eligible for tax exemption, because this is the most important thing.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense somebody bringing a car to Portugal if you don't apply for exemption of taxes and duties, because it will be very, very high.
Yes.
The ESV here in Portugal is, comparing to other countries of Europe, like let's say Germany, a car, it's almost 30% more here in Portugal than there. So, and importing a car from the USA to Portugal means that we will need to pay not only taxes at the time that we import the car, but also registration, legalisation. You have a ESV, that is very high. And
what does that stand for? What does that stand? What is that abbreviation for? ESV?
Yeah, the ESV is the Imposto do Veículo.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the tax of the. My God, I forgot to say it in English, but it's the tax
No
that will
problem.
apply.
Yes.
And for that, we need to assess the different to the CO2, okay,
Yeah.
the engine capacity. We need to know the year of the car and some technical information about it, so we can estimate how much it will be the tax for the car.
Very good. I think it's all we need to know that it's the word is
Impuesto sobre vehículo is like actually the vehicle registration tax. That's what it's called.
Imposition. That sounds very clear.
Yeah, because we have
right.
many, you know, we need to decode the acronyms of,
Yes,
of
yeah,
the
definitely. Well, thank you for doing
EMT.
that. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely
EMT, we
right.
have the DAF.
Yes.
So everything, you know, has a, like I would say, okay, you bring your car, but I will never recommend somebody bringing the car if they don't have the tax exemption. Really,
Yeah.
it's very high. But some people decide to do it, and we are here to support and to assist, you know, with the guiding them what documents we will need, and then trying to keep them posted of the different steps, because as you know, legalization takes some time. It can take from 6 to 8 or 8 to 10 months, depending.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Very good. But a minimum of 6, you say?
Yeah, minimum of 6 when? You know, when a car comes from the USA, we need a document that is called the COC, Certificate of Conformity.
Yes.
But this certificate of conformity is usually in Europe. So here, when cars out of Europe come, we need a Model 9, okay? This Model 9 is the one that is like the homologation,
Yes.
okay, of the brand of the car here in Portugal.
Yes.
And that's why this document usually takes 3 to 4 months. So when somebody's planning on bringing the car, knowing that he will have the exemption of taxes and duties, what I recommend is to start the process before they bring the car, because we can start this Model 9 or Model 9, you know, requesting some information from the car, like the title, you know, we request some photos, the driver's license, photographs of the vehicle, the engine capacity, and some other requirements that will be needed so that we can start the process in advance. And that will save us 4 months of waiting here to go to the next step, which will be the inspection.
Right. Okay. So each vehicle has to be inspected as well as going through the earlier process.
Each vehicle. Yeah. And well, talking about when the car starts, the process of legalization is right after the clearance is done at the port of entry. After the clearance is done, what happens is that we need to issue this document called DAF. Okay, the DAF, it's a document that allows the driver to have the car, but important because there was one of the questions: can we drive the car while we are there waiting for the legalization process to be concluded? Of course, you can drive the car, but you need to be careful before you come to Portugal. Don't keep the plates there, because I know from experiences before. From Florida, it was a car that, okay, they cancel everything, you know, at the department there, at AIMA, there is Department Mobility
DMV,
Vehicle,
they call the
DMV,
right?
right?
Yeah, they strike
So
terror
in
into the hearts of
Florida,
America.
right? Yeah. They left the plates there, and we always tell them, bring the plates. This is important. Issuing the DAF, once it arrives after the custom clearance is cleared, everything is clear, then we can start the DAF. Yeah. And then the insurance. Insurance is one of the processes that before I can say it used to be like a bit of a hassle, because you needed to make the renewal each month. Nowadays, we are available to provide insurance that can cover you for 1 year. Okay. Yeah. And that facilitates, because once your car is like with the DAF, which takes 7 to 10 days maximum. Yes. Then you have the plates already from the States. Yes. And you get insurance. and then you can drive the car. So
Can
there
make
is no
do, drop the
problem with
plates.
that. That
Okay, all right.
yeah.
Yeah. You've got to bring the plates because you need to put them up in your garage after you've sold the car, right? Some people have
Right.
all of the plates of all of their cars, don't they? So
Yeah.
that's great. Okay. Anything else we need to know about vehicles? And I think to answer Debbie's question earlier on about the red, it's important the color, isn't it, Debbie? My red 2011 Mazda Miata. You say it depends, doesn't it? Case by case basis. You'd have to do a little bit of an analysis and a consultation to see if that particular vehicle is worth bringing over.
Yeah. Actually, many people think that bringing a car to Portugal, yeah, it's worthy in terms of tax exemption. We need to assess that. But also, if you have a collectible car
Yes.
or classic car, there are some cars that have benefits, like a
Yes.
car under 1970 will not pay the UC, there's the annual tax.
Yes.
And the ESV is also avoided in some cases. Okay, so
Okay.
there are
Right.
some benefits and
Yes.
some new laws that has come lately. And one important detail here in the process, because we had experiences here of having the legalization process, there are 5 steps. It takes long, so the DAF, then you need the inspection. For the inspection, we need to make sure, and we can assist in that case if the person wants to make the pre-inspection to make sure that everything complies, make sure that the fog lights are in the rear left and the lights of the blinkers are orange, not red, okay?
Yeah.
No films, dark windows if it doesn't come from the brand. So different details that we need to make sure, and that the VIN, which is the serial number, will be
Yes.
showing in the car. This is also important, okay?
Yeah.
And when all this process starts, from the inspection and then goes to the other step, what we realized the last time we had an experience is that they're asking for an extra document after the inspection, which is called Certificado Técnico. It's like a technical certification, okay, CCT.
All right. Okay.
And this is something new, but this is possible. We need to request it at the brand. So nowadays, what we suggest is, besides all the list of documents that we need to be aware of, and also be aware that custom can also ask for the use of the car in the last 6 months in your country. Okay, they can ask for some proofs, like, I don't know, if the parking payment, or the toll that you pay, something that proves that you were using the car. The car cannot be, stopped in a garage, not using it. So this is something that we need to show sometimes, and the CCT, which is the certificate technical, that we need to request at the brand here. And this can delay the process a little bit because it depends on the brand. It can take 1 month or maybe 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Very
but
good.
This is done here in Portugal.
Okay, that's interesting. Good to know. Thank you for that. So finally then, on this conversation presentation part, before we go to some questions, vehicle purchase, you've got a turnkey service of purchasing and legalization. Is that the same thing or 2 separate services? How does that help people?
Well, that helps because when I see that it doesn't make sense, paying a lot of ESV taxes of the car, and we have other options. And this option includes the fact of buying a car in Germany, which is cheaper, okay?
Right.
And we have the turnkey service. That means that we will buy the car, we will make the negotiation, we will bring the car, we will legalize the car, so the legalization is included. And even with all these services included, the car will be much cheaper than bringing the car from the States. So that's why we thought that is good, because people have to, we need to offer options, alternatives, solutions.
And the last option is buying a car in Portugal, then, by the sound of it.
Right. If the last option, because we obviously want to provide a full service and helping the people bring in the car. But if it doesn't make sense, but it depends, some clients,
Very good.
they want to pay And
This is
we
what
help them.
happens in the
Yeah.
consultation process. This has aroused Jerry's interest here, who is our resident car expert in so many ways. Good evening, Jerry.
Hi, Carl. Hi, Gisela. Good evening to you. Hello, everyone.
Hi. Hi.
Gisela, that was news to me, your last comment. So that's very interesting. Do you provide that service for anyone in Portugal?
Yes. We do.
Okay.
Wow.
See,
Yes.
this is this is a service that, well, that was an idea because we are always looking, forward
Right.
to comply the requirements of our clients. So we thought about, if we legalize the cars, why don't, given the option,
Sure.
because we put
Right.
two options. You bring the car, you pay this in ESV. Okay, let's put an example, just because I had this experience. A Porsche coming from the USA without changing residence, he needed to pay only in taxes 100,000 in ESV.
Right. Yeah.
And here, bringing the car from Germany here is only 30,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a huge difference about paying taxes in Portugal or bringing a car, or buying a car from the European country and providing this service. I think it's an option, but yeah.
Okay.
A bit of a game changer.
All right. So let's say that Carl, who's very rich, wants to buy himself a Mercedes. He could go to you. You could source a car for him within his budget, and you could bring that car in and have it all properly legalized for use in Portugal. Yeah.
Do the necessary.
Yes.
Okay, that's really interesting. Gisela, I'll give you a call tomorrow. We'll talk more about it. Okay?
There you go. Jerry's glad he's here tonight.
I think we might have some
I'm glad that
customers
you're
for you.
interested in that.
Very good.
No,
and
I
still,
think it's
obviously still cheaper than buying in Portugal. That's the point, isn't it?
That's cheapest. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we'll talk. Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome.
Right. So suddenly somebody confirmed that wants to confirm that we're speaking Japanese here. I can't possibly confirm. It might sound like it at times with all of these different phrases like homologation. It's a whole new vocabulary when we're talking to GIR, but no, not Japanese. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, that's wonderful. And I think we should go to a few questions now, if we may. Thank you very much, Gisela. Great and interesting conversation. And that's a real turn up for the books at the end there. A bit of a game changer with buying a vehicle here in Europe. So, Debbie, I think for you, and the Mazda, which is a model I've not heard of, and that's a bit of a red flag, isn't it? If there's not an equivalent here in Europe, that makes it a little bit more difficult, as I understand it. But have a chat, I think, with Gisela about that to see what you're up against. There
is, Carl. We call it an MX-5. It's the same car.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Then we definitely have the MX-5 over here. Yeah. Fantastic car. No wonder you want to bring that over. Fantastic. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Debbie. Ed and Sharon, changing the NIF. If we come to Portugal on the D7 and we live in a place for 1 year rented and we decide to move, say, to a permanent house, you have to change the NIF twice. You don't change the NIF number. You just change your address on the NIF. Don't you go to finance us and tell them that. Okay. So that's very straightforward.
And with the accesso, the access on the portal of finances is easy.
Yes, you can do it online.
You don't need to.
If the government websites are working okay. What's your experience been this week, Gisela, of the cyber attack that happened in the last week or so?
Of the what?
The cyber attack. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yes. Well, to be honest, I was like really in shock with that, but at the same time, busy days, working hard. I was not really involved with it. Yeah. But I believe that it has a great impact, for all of us, anyways. But
well, some wag pointed out that the AIMA website had been affected, but nobody noticed.
No,
but I think it's all being put right now. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't noticed really. I knew about that, but I hadn't really a great impact in our.
Well, fair enough. It's all being repaired now as we speak, and this is a modern problem. We might talk more to Nunu about that in the Dream Team session. Mark and Jane, we know you need to own a vehicle for 12 months before matriculating tax-free. Is this from the date you change your NIF address or from when you arrive in Portugal? Another good question for you, Gisela.
Yeah, great. It's from the date that you turn a resident, and that means that it's from the date that you change your residence on your NIF.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Very straightforward.
So there are two two documentation important: cancellation of your residence in the States, which is proved by the import certificate, car import certificate, and in Portugal, once you go to the finanzas and you change your residence. So this is basically at the same time. If I cancel my residence in the state, means that I'm turning a resident in Portugal.
Very good. Thank you for that. All right, Mark and Jane. MI, how long does it take to change your NIF address, and how long? Well, you're saying there, Gisela, if you do it online, it's almost
online. Online can be easy in 3 days or 1 week.
Okay,
maximum.
and how long, estimate, does it take to bring a container from the east coast of the USA to Portugal? And I think we had a question about west coast as well. So generally speaking, how long do these containers take from waving your goods goodbye on the port that side, and how long does it take for them to get over to here?
Okay, west coast, we are talking about 10 weeks. Okay, 10 weeks transit time on sea. And custom clearance usually takes 1 week in Portugal and 1 week there. So let's count it 12 weeks all.
That's amazing, isn't it? Jerry will know about this, but that's the sailing time, is it? Or is that the total time? Is that how long the sailing takes? That many weeks, Jerry?
Well, yes, it does take a long time. Those freight ships don't go as quickly as some of the passenger ships do, but also it's to do with frequency of sailing. They don't sail every day.
Yes.
They might sail once a week or once every 12 days or something. So it's partly that as well.
Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And it's not direct. It'll stop at different ports on the way. And so it's you can't just look at a map and say, well, it's, and Google the distance. It's not quite the same thing.
You have to tell your Google Maps approximately.
That's why we have the tracking number, of the container, so that you will know where your goods are at that moment. But we gave an estimate of transit time, and we know that the custom clearance takes 1 week in each point. So we put 2 weeks, and transit time from West Coast is 10 weeks usually. From East Coast is 4 weeks.
All right, very good. Okay, my dog's just burst into the studio here. It should be okay, but if a transmission is interrupted, you'll know why now. Okay, George, only 30% more expensive than in Germany. I know of European countries where taxes are much higher, says George. I suppose that if one buys a car in Portugal, one has to pay taxes as well, whether personally imported or purchased locally. Yeah, I mean, they want to tax you, don't they? Wherever there's an opportunity, I think, George. Maybe we'll talk more. No, did you say, was that a no, Gisela? Or
no. I say taxes will always apply, except electrical cars are exempt of taxes.
Oh, okay, interesting.
ESV.
All right. Okay, so we may talk more about that when we've concluded the transmission on YouTube and the recording here, when we spend a bit of time with you, Gisela, informally. But a couple more questions, if we may. What are the requirements for bringing fine art into Portugal? That's from Greg. I'm not sure what you mean exactly, Greg. But generally speaking, Gisela, if you're bringing fine art, there's obviously a very important packing process and an insurance process. Tell us a little bit more about your experience with that, if you will.
Yeah, sure, Carl. Transporting fine arts, first we need to know what kind of fine arts they are, the value of them, because if we are bringing these fine arts as part of our household goods, that means that you were exempt of paying taxes and duties. But obviously, it could be an inspection. And inspections can happen in terms of confirming that there are used, fine arts, or it belongs to the person. Or if we are bringing just fine arts for, importing and paying taxes. So for that, what we do is we make an assessment and we ask what kind of fine arts they are, the value of them, and so we can make an estimate in case something happens in the process of clearance. And for us, it's like very easy to tell the clients, well, you proceed, you won't pay. No, but we usually like to make like options in case something doesn't run well, because we are not on control of customs procedures. So this is Alfandega is the only one deciding on that. But experiences before we made some transportation of fine arts, and everything went well, so
Yes.
no issues.
Oh, and that's a key distinction, isn't it? It's important to make it clear to the Portuguese government that these are your own things, whether it be fine art, your car, your
Right,
household effect,
right.
and you're not trying to bring things to sell in the
Yeah,
country.
and
Yeah.
to be honest, from all the shipments that we have from the USA or Canada, you know, most of the time we don't go through inspections. So it's random, but it's very, very not common to happen unless you bring a car. When there is vehicle involved, it's always inspection. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Alex and Scott, we've got to, we'll conclude in just a moment, and then we'll have an informal chat with you. So stick around to chat with Gisela in just a moment. And she's going to join us briefly because she's had a whole day at work and she's done this webinar for us, and she's going to pop into the Dream Team at 9 o'clock. So we'll give her a little break between now and then. But Alex has got a question which includes how do we get in touch with you, Gisela? Of course, GIR can be found in the Expats Portugal business directory. We might even be able to pop a link in the chat for you with that. And you were asking if it's possible, I think, to get a quote to see if it's, is it possible to get some kind of an estimate for a particular brand, model, year before deciding whether to bring it or not? If it's free of ISV and other taxes when coming on the D7. So of course you can do a consultation and talk it through with somebody to see if they want to do it, if it's worthwhile.
Yes.
There you go. So yes,
definitely.
Alex.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You can make the
Gisela.
consultation.
Yeah, which is a very useful process, of course. And Jose, thank you for being here tonight. Jose, good to see you. We shipped our wife's 1970 VW Cabriolet. That sounds like a prized possession. Paid 1,000 to a certain organisation because it lacked much official paperwork. We've had the odometer replaced, 500 euros, changed the headlights, the taillights, and still not satisfied at IMT there. 18 months later, still waiting for this process to be resolved. Basically, you're saying I'd strongly recommend folks not bringing a car from the US. Cars are unjustly expensive here, but if you need transportation quickly, sell your car in the US and buy one here. Just suck it up, says Jose. But of course, we've heard a number of angles on the conversation tonight. And yeah, it is worth being aware of a difficult situation like that with, I think, a classic car there, to be fair. Thank you, Jose, for sharing that particular experience of your own. So the subtitles are in Japanese. Okay, so I don't know how that happened tonight, but you're very welcome. If you're Japanese and you're enjoying the webinar, thank you for being here this evening. I didn't realize my Japanese was that good. Okay, I think we'll leave it there. We'll stop our transmission over to YouTube first. So let me do that. And we'll come to you for a last word in just a moment for the recording, Gisela, and then we'll stop recording over here. So yes, of course, get in touch with you via the Expats Portugal business directory. Is there anything else you want to add before we stop the recording here for Zoom for our Expats Portugal premium members that you might not have said earlier on?
No, the only thing that I would like to share with everybody is that even though, you know, the process of moving or bringing your car or your household goods is a bit of, you know, it's long and sometimes exhausting. You know, the people here are very prepared to help them, and my advice is always having contact like 6 months in advance to make sure that you comply for the documentation, for the exception of paying taxes and duties, because if we have everything organized in time, no issues will come at the end, no surprises. And that's what my advice is, to get in contact with time and to make sure that we are, you know, in the right path.
Like so many parts of this process of moving to Portugal.
Right.
That's a really good takeaway tonight, Gisela. Great conversation with you. And so you need that 6-month run up, basically. Have a chat with you, find out what you're up against, get the quotes and find out, but allow for 6 months as well. Thank you very much for being
Thanks to you.
Stick around and we'll have a little bit more of an informal chat, and we'll pause the recording there.